Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Jesse with Carolina Whitetails, and I wanted to really share this video with you. You know, last year, 2021, I decided not to just post my hunting videos, but I decided to reach out to people in the hunting industry and people on YouTube that had hunting channels to invite them to my channel to tell some hunting stories and to share some of their whitetail hunting knowledge. I really appreciate all of y'all that like those videos and subscribe to the channel because of those videos. This is just a few of those hunters that joined me last year on my channel, and I just wanted to kind of recap it and share it with you. And to all the hunters that joined me, I really appreciate it. And all of y'all that subscribed to the channel last year, it really means a lot. It really helps out, and I hope y'all enjoy this.
Hey now,
What's happening, man? How you doing?
There you are, bro.
What's up, man?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
What's
I
up?
can hear
I think
you.
you got to turn. What? One of us got to get here. Let me see. There you go. Great beard.
Thanks, man. Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing, buddy? I'm trying to get kind of move this around a bit so I can have a decent background.
I got everything kind of jerry rigged up here, so I have to kind of balance everything. I'm at my friend's shop because he has super fast internet. So
Yeah, I was worried about that because there's a tornado warning and a storm going on right now. So I was wondering how the connection was going to be.
well, that's what we had yesterday here. We had big storms and hails and everything, tornadoes in the area. And
can you hear me, John?
Can't hear anything. There we go. Yes. Boy, the beard you got going there.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There you go. I got you now.
Cool deal.
What's been going on, man? You doing all right?
Yeah. Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I recommend everybody that's watching to go check it out, because just the like you mentioned earlier, being real and the real emotion and all that, man, I just really enjoyed that video. So I was just wondering if you could talk about that first big buck you shot that you filmed.
Yeah. It was I had joined a club in Twiggs County, and it's kind of the way the club's set up is like every member got their own little area or whatever. So my area, I think it was just kind of a random draw. I don't know how it worked. Anyway, my area ended up being just a big clear cut, like wasn't even a tree on it, hardly to climb to even try to bow hunt. So my buddy Danny Sanders, who was actually the president of the club, he said, "Well, I don't even hunt there that much. You can just go hunt my area." I said, "Okay." So went over there, and I think it was 150, 200 acres, and got a couple cameras up, put some corn out over there, and I actually had the buck coming in one spot, and but the hog, I put corn out, because this whole property is just a huge pine plantation. So if you ain't baiting, you kind of just playing battleship, trying to guess where one's gonna walk by. This pine tree ain't no better than the other one, So I got there and put some corn out, and unfortunately, the hogs had found it too. So, like, the buck was still coming in, but the hogs were eating corn faster than I could carry it out there, and it's like a mile from the truck. I had a little two-wheel drive F-150, couldn't make it back there. Didn't have a four-wheeler at the time. I'm just carrying in corn back there, So, anyway, so one day I'm easing back there, and I see these hogs crossing the road. I run up there and stalk up on them and miss one. Well, they keep running toward the corn, so I just keep following them, to ease back up on them and shoot one on the shoulder, and it runs through their bleeder thing, and the deer left there. So anyway, So then it's kind of like back to where did he go? You know, I figured, you know, it ain't like he's going to just move over to the next county. So there's a long lane that had used to be a food plot that went like, I mean, must have been 400 or 500 yards. I walked down there and eased down and finally cut some big tracks crossing there and thought, you know, good chance that's him or another big buck. So I put some corn in the camera right there and gave it, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. And he's back in there and, you know, checked the camera, and he'd been there a couple times in daylight. So I felt like I had a pretty good chance. And funny thing about it, I was so shook up. I got on Facebook and told everybody I had a prayer request, which, you know, normally I ain't the type to do that, but it was kind of funny though, man, because I mean, normally I feel like, you know, God, he don't care if I shoot a deer or not. You know, he got better things to worry about. But the way that played out and the fact that I did that prayer request was weird, man, because the wind was hitting me like in my left eye all day, which I didn't know where the deer was coming from. I felt like it wouldn't have been the wind I'd have picked, but I thought I'd been okay. And then, like, you know, maybe 45 minutes before dark, it switched. And the crazy thing was that deer walked in, he would have been straight downwind, you know. And then he had like a 2-year-old 8-pointer with him, and that joker's like blowing and blowing. No, actually what it was, they come in like this, and that I heard a deer blow, and then they circled downwind, and the wind switched like right at the perfect, like it was crazy. And anyway, so this 2-year-old 8-pointer is like blowing, he runs by me blowing, and the big buck just, he doesn't pay me any attention. Acts like nothing's going on, walks right in, gives me like a 30-yard shot him in the heart. And like, I just freaking lost it because, you know, like, I mean, you're from North Carolina, so I'm sure it's kind of the same way there. Like, the deer, it was like a 130-inch deer. And, you know, growing up, my dad had only ever killed like one deer over 130. So in my mind, like, if you could just kill one 130 in your lifetime, you'd be done did it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
probably, like, I thought that'd be the biggest deer I'd ever kill. And of course, I actually thought he was like 140, but he ended up being like 130. But anyway, so I'm sitting here thinking I done probably killed the county record, just freaking lost it, you know? So, I mean, it was, you know, and the funny thing about that is, like, I started to almost not even put that video out because it was so embarrassing, me crying like a baby. But then I thought, you know, you see all these guys on TV shoot like 150, 160-inch deer and barely crack a smile because they didn't, you know, they just went somewhere and somebody said, hey, there's a 160 here, come shoot it, you know? So
Yeah.
anyway, but that ended up being, you know, kind of, you know, sort of kind of blew up, and that's what kind of encouraged me to keep on filming.
I mean, I guess I cut my teeth like so many other people, squirrel hunting and rabbit hunting and doing that kind of thing with my dad and uncles and such. But as archery wise, you would think that I started at an early age, but actually my dad had bought me a bow, a recurve bow, when I was 10 years old for good grades. And, you know, my dad didn't know how to get it set up with a bow. So I got a recurve that was an adult recurve. It was a 45, 50-pound recurve. And at 10 years old, I could barely bend the string. So he kind of got me a bow that was a little bit too strong for me. So my first footsteps into archery was kind of, I guess you could say it wasn't a good experience because the bow was a little on the heavy side for me. So I kind of put it on the back burner, continued to squirrel hunt, and I deer hunted a little bit. But as soon as I was out of high school, or right out of high school, my buddies who I'd hung around with, we fished all the time, and it was late in the summer, and I got in a hunting club with them, and they said, "Are you gonna bow hunt with us, man? We're fixing to start practicing shooting our bows in the afternoons." This was in June. And I said, "No, man, I ain't doing that." I said, "You just end up wounding a bunch of deer, you know, and I'm not bow hunting. I'll just wait till gun season." And they said, "Well, look, we're not fishing anymore. We're going to be shooting our bows, and plus you get 5 more weeks of season if you bow hunt." And I said, "Okay." So I caved and went and got me a bow. And bought the bow on a Wednesday. And while we were there, my buddies was with me at the local archery shop. I'd spent, I don't know, about $300 or $400 on this bow. It was a PSE Strata Flight Express. This was back in 1987. And the local guy that has the local archery shop, I mean, the local archery range was there. And he was telling all my buddies about the tournaments that they had once a month at Dog River Archery Club. And, you know, I really wasn't paying much attention to them because I was getting my bow set up. But we left there, and that guy had already talked them into coming out and shooting that Sunday. Like I said, this was a Wednesday. We went and shot at my buddy's house on Thursday and Friday and shot all day Saturday. And I was doing pretty good, kind of got my bow sighted in. And I was just proud that I was, you know, shooting away. It was a lot easier than what I had thought it was from back when I was 10 years old. But, you know, you gain a lot of strength from 10 years old to 19 years old. So I was able to pull a lot more poundage, and I could see, man, I'm doing pretty decent at this. Well, they asked me at Saturday night, said, you going with us tomorrow to that tournament? I said, man, I just bought a bow on a Wednesday. I ain't going to no tournament. And they said, well, we've never been to no tournament. Come on, go with us. I only had 6 arrows. So we got there, and anybody that's ever thought of archery tournament, you always think, like, I know when I was back then, there was no Google. We had to flip through an encyclopedia in the late 80s. So I always thought of an archery tournament of about 100 people in white suits standing on the line shooting their bow, you know, like you would see at the Olympics. So I thought that's kind of what we was going to. Well, we show up and it's a 3D tournament. So you walk through the woods and it's like hunting situations. You don't know the distance, and you got to shoot at rings that you don't know where they are. It's just concentric rings based on the way the deer was. And actually they wasn't even 3D tournament. There was Excelsior bells that we shot posters. This was long before there was a 3D target. Yeah. So we signed up for the beginning class, and we, you know, you shoot in your own group. It's just like golf, basically. You go through the woods, you go through the course, and you come back, you turn your scorecards in, and you see, you know, how you did against everybody. So we signed up for the novice division, the beginning division. We get back around, and I was so happy because, one, I didn't lose any arrows, and then two, I had beat all my buddies. So there were 6 of us went, and I was like, man, I wanted to bow for 5 days, and I beat all my buddies, and I couldn't have been any happier. We turned our scorecards in, and lo and behold, I shot the best out of all the beginners. There was 36 or 37 people shot, and I come out on top, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm a fat, flat-footed Georgia boy, and I ain't never been good at nothing. I took up a place online in high school football, and I float pretty good, so therefore I thought I swum pretty good, but I think I might have found something I'm pretty decent at. And from that point on, I couldn't get any more of archery. I mean, I'd work my 40 hours a week. I worked for Mercedes-Benz in downtown Atlanta. And I mean, every free moment, you know, because when you're young, you know, you're not married, you don't have kids, you don't have a house payment. And man, every free moment I was spending on archery and outdoors in the woods. I killed 3 deer with my bow that year. And from that point on, I just throwed myself into the world of tournament archery. So that was in '88, and then I won my first state championship in '90, and then I won, you know, the ASA World Championships in '91.
This is crazy. This is one of the craziest stories you're ever going to hear. Craziest hunting stories you will ever hear. I come back that night, and I get in my tree stand, and I'm there about, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, you know, and I start having a one-on-one with God, and I'm like, I can't do no more morning hunts. Like, I'm exhausted, man. I've been hunting every day, night and day, for night and evening every day for like 6 weeks. I'm beat down. I've been sleeping 4 hours. I lost 20 pounds because I'm not eating. I mean, this is ridiculous, man. I got to just freaking come to terms with that. You know, I might not get a deer. I'll shoot if it's a hunt at night. And then all of a sudden, man, I felt really guilty about admitting that failure, bro. Like, I'm like, and I said, nah, man, that ain't me, man. I'm not giving up. F that. I'm out here tomorrow morning. I'm up 4 o'clock in the freaking morning, and I'll be out here every freaking morning until I freaking get a deer. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a quitter. In fact, I'm going to work harder at this. I'm going to work harder at my career, my job, my writing, my everything, man. That ain't me. I don't give up. And right about the time I was thinking that, that's why I barely even noticed it. In comes running this freaking doe. This doe comes running in. And I like start, but she's running, and she's like 40 yards away, kind of angling, what kind of like gonna pass me, but not within range, really. And now I kind of lift my safety thing. I'm messing with the safety because, like I said, I only shot this thing freaking 1-2 times, and I'm trying to get the safety, fumbling with it. And when I look up, she is right freaking in front of me, man. And I go, hey, I went, ah. She don't stop. So I was like, ah, loud, no louder than that. I was like, ah, and she freaking stops right under me. Like I could have jumped off on her like a horse. She turns around, walks about 5 steps, and looks the other way. Now I got, I get a nice freaking shot through the heart, nail. So, bam, she goes. I know she's dead. I made a good shot. Freaking, she bounds off. I can already see the blood pouring out, and she runs about 60 yards and kind of stumbles and then crashes and goes down. And that's it, right? So this ain't over. I start, okay, I'm strapped in. I start unstrapping. I hang the bow and I'm like kind of getting ready to unstrap. It's okay. I'm gonna go down there and gut this deer, whatever. And then I thought to myself, I wonder why she was running like that. Like I didn't hear any hunters. I didn't hear any cars go by on the road, which is just a little 2-track, a couple 100 yards away. But I didn't hear a car. I didn't hear any voices. Didn't hear any nothing. That deer was running. Yeah, I said, I wonder if there was a buck. And I'm not joking, bro. This is what I did. I wonder if there was a buck. And I look up, and there he was. It was a nice big 8-point buck. Not big, but nice 8-point. For northern Michigan on state land, this was a very nice buck. And he walked over and looked at her. Like he looked down at her like, what the hell's wrong with you? And then he turns and starts angling. I'm just like, oh man, fudge, I should have not shot this freaking doe. She just waited, man. She ran right by me. He was gonna came right to me. Then he starts angling towards me. And I'm like, he's only like 45 yards away. I looked at him and I have one spare bolt. And it's already got the spare bolt that I have is a Rage broadhead that had already been opened and not rebanded. It was just my only spare. It wasn't rebanded. I looked at that bolt. And I looked at the deer, looked at the bolt, and this is exactly what I said to myself: move. And I grabbed that thing, and I started fumbling with this thing, trying to get. And I couldn't get the freaking bolt in the. First of all, I got to get the cocking ropes out, and I get the cocking ropes out, and somehow I got that done right, done somehow. Now I'm not looking, but at one time I was like fumbling with the arrow, and because the broadhead was open, it kept catching on the foot thing, and then when I lifted up to go over it, the arrow would pop out of the bolt would pop out of the groove, and I had to start over. And I did that a couple times, and I'm shaking, and I'm just like, I told myself, relax, get it done. That's exactly what I said. Relax, get it done. So I popped it up, held this down, popped it up, popped that down, slid in. And then
that crossbow can be a monster
don't
crank in.
And I look, yeah, exactly. And I look up, and there's that freaking deer. And I said, don't move, don't look.
Is he looking at you?
Don't look. And I look, and that mother effer was 20 yards away, angling right towards me. So I just freaking, dude, I don't even remember how I did this. I got it all done. I remember I stood up. This is how fast it happened. I got it in there, stood up, went, and nailed it. Perfect shot. I just came up, safety off. He was about to bolt. He was already springing to go. Like he had saw me fumbling around and turned around, was about to bolt through these like the cedar swamp like area. He'd have vanished in one step gone. So I raised up. As soon as the crosshairs touched on his freaking heart, bam! I let him have it. I shot a little bit forward on him, so he ran about 150 yards, 175 yards. But I wasn't even sure if I made a good shot. I mean, I just shot so fast. I thought I did, but there was a little bit of brush and stuff. But I knew I nailed him. Okay, I heard it quack, and he jumped. And so now he takes off running. You're supposed to wait, but it's going to get dark in half an hour. If I got to track this thing, I don't at least track the blood and daylight. So I come flying out of that freaking tree like so geeked up. I ran over there, and at first I didn't see any blood. Then I see blood. Then more blood. And there's more blood. And I was like, and dude, I yelled, "Thank you, Jesus!" when I found him. I literally said, "Thank you, Jesus." I said, "Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus." I couldn't believe I did that, bro.
Other than whitetail, what would you say, your favorite animal to hunt would be?
Boy, that's a tough one, man, because I really love it all so much. I love to hunt mule deer just because of the way you hunt them. They're in the open. You can glass them and And just seeing groups of mule deer does with a buck with them is just a cool sight. You know, they're more of a herd animal than the whitetails. They're more like an elk. You know, a big buck will get a harem of 6 or 7 does or 10 does and kind of stick around with them and get the whole bunch, you know. And same with elk. You know, I love elk hunting too. Calling anything in is cool, and just to call in a big old bull and shoot with a bow is pretty neat. So those are probably my 3 favorite. Elk, mule deer, and whitetails are probably my 3 favorite. But I love everything, man. I love a turkey hunt. I love bear hunting. Moose hunting's amazing. I've been lucky enough to shoot 5 moose. So it's hard for me to pick one. It really is.
I watched a video the other day you was moose hunting, and the moose was charging you, and you just stood still and ended up shooting it. And the guy that was with you, he took off running to the creek, to the river.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty exciting hunt. That thing came charging up, and I knew that, you know, I had a log in front of me, and I knew he wasn't going to come over that log. So I just stood there, and my guide and the camera guy, they both took off running, and they got to the river's edge by the boat. And so I was like, get back up here. You know, they came up, and then he walked right out there about 20 yards, and I smoked him right in the heart. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a crazy video, man. Now, speaking of food plots, I gotta say, like, I saw on your channel like the greatest food plot that I've ever saw. Can you tell us about the Trump food plot?
Yeah, so I knew that was coming up. I'm known for my food plot designs. So my food plot designs are pretty intricate. Like they're pretty crazy out there. This year with the whole election going on, I wanted to have a little bit of fun. And that plot is called the candy shop plot. I call it that because it's literally surrounded just by like hundreds of acres of woods, and it's like a candy shop for deer, just a bale in there. And so anyway, this year, like I try to break up my food plots so I can really get deer to utilize them and move through them so they're more huntable and stuff. And last year I put a barrier right through the middle of it. I said, you know what would be fun this year, instead of putting a barrier, is to spell out Trump. It's going to be cool for one and get some attention out there. But secondly, what it's going to do, it basically created a lot of little pockets. So if you go through there and you look from the aerial photos, I have a lot of videos of it out there. You got the T and the R and the U and the P, and it was huge. Like I'm talking, I think it was almost 80 yards long and like probably 20 to 30 yards wide. So it was big. And you had like little pockets in there. Like I planted that Killer Food Plots Border Patrol. So it grew up to, and I planted a little late. So it got to like 5 to 8 feet tall in there. And it had little pockets of clover in between all those little pockets of lettering. And the deer just get in there and they bed in there and eat in there. And then if a buck came in, that food plot's 200 yards long. If he came in on the far side and bow hunting, he couldn't see all the way across the food plot. So he had to come all the way through the Trump and get over there and utilize, which just made him more huntable. So if I set up the stand anywhere, using that food plot longer and gave me better opportunity. So it was kind of just for fun, but it did work out really, really well, get a lot of attention. And I've now just like 2 days ago burned it all down, and I'm fixing to frost seed it. And I don't know what I'm gonna do this year. Like this year, I've always got to one up myself, and I'm making it really hard to do that every single year. So I don't know how I'm gonna do it this year, but I'll figure out something. We'll have some pretty cool food plots.
Shot a big mature doe with this guy that kind of took me under his wing, took me out in public land, and the name was Leroy. And he kind of went down and he put me in a stand in the morning before daylight, and he went down in the swamp, and he said, well, when he told me after he put me in the stand, when I say stand, I was standing on a 2x4 on a tree. Okay, that's a tree stand back then.
Yeah.
Or standing in a crotch tied to the tree with your bow rope. And he said, well, when you get down, if you want to walk back here to that swamp, just sit under a pine tree or sit under there some pines, just sit there and wait for me to come out of the swamp. And he said, don't go in the swamp looking for him, because he was going to probably hunt later than me. So I got down about 10 o'clock, walked back there, and I sat on my butt underneath this pine tree, white pine, so the branches above me were, kind of dead for ways. And I'm sitting on my butt with my legs on the ground, and this big doe come busting out of the swamp, and she stopped right in front of me at about 17 to 20 yards and looked back into the swamp. So I knew Leroy was coming out. He scooped her out of the swamp, and I couldn't hold the bow upright and shoot normal because obviously it's a 62-inch bow and the branches are in the way, plus so is the ground because I'm sitting on my butt.
Right.
And I turned the bow damn near parallel to the ground, and I drew it back and let it snapshot it, and the arrow actually deflected off one of the pine boughs, and I hit it right through both lungs. I double lungered, and she ran about 50 yards and died.